Hello, and welcome to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. We are excited for episode 131. Amma and I really get into it this episode because we are talking about spoiled brats. We're going to get into what we as parents might be doing to cause this in our kids, why we might be doing this, how we can be damaging our bond by spoiling our kids, and what we can do to either prevent spoiling our kids or change it if we have fallen into this, because we've all given in. We've all dropped those boundaries, I think, a few times and given in to our kids. And so we're going to get into all the causes and effects of everything around spoiling. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy this episode because you might live with one, and I'm sure you know one if you don't live with one. So this is really going to give us a lot of insight on what's really happening. So stay tuned as we dive into all of that in this week's episode.
Hey, Mama. Welcome to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Do you want to end the constant battles for bath time? Do you find yourself emotionally exhausted at the end of the day? Do you wake up with big hopes for a smooth day of fun with your little ones, only to face an early morning meltdown because you peeled their banana the wrong way?
Silly you.
Silly you.
Hey, I'm Serena. I'm a mama of 2 little ones, and as a new mama, I constantly questioned myself. I wanted to make sure I was raising respectful kids while also building a strong bond with them. But I discovered that I had to unlearn my ideas that punishment was the way. With Lisa's encouragement, I've been practicing a respectful and gentle parenting approach, which is strengthening our bond as a family.
And hi, I'm Lisa. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an amma. And I have over 40 years of experience in childcare and parent coaching. And I am so excited to share the knowledge I've gained over these years with you.
Together in this podcast, each week we will explore some easy to implement skills you can add to your parenting tool belt to help you create a happy, thriving family. Can we talk about spoiled brats? Because I can't stand them. Some people might say my kids are spoiled.
Really?
They might. My dad obviously would say my kids are spoiled.
What? Okay, tell me more.
So he would probably say they're spoiled because if they want something, he expects me to say no and like just hold the ground. So in his definition, he would say that my kids are spoiled. Or if they didn't get something and they started crying, which is obviously a normal thing, my dad's reaction would just be, what a spoiled brat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a really interesting place to start. Because I talk about, and I've talked on the podcast a bit about being a yes parent. And that doesn't mean giving in and saying yes to every single thing our children want, because that's a crazy life. It means instead of saying no, find a way to turn it. Oh, you really wish you could have that right now while we're in the store. And today we're not going to buy it. And let's write it on your wish list. Yes, let's write it on your wish list. That kind of a yes. Yes, I hear how much you want that. Yeah, it's a cool thing. It's really cool. And we're not going to get it today, but we can write it on the wish list. That kind of a yes. So just turning it away from the no and shifting, because no gets resistance.
Yeah.
And big resistance, right?
It's funny because I've kind of been paying more attention to that and just the language that I use and trying not to be so negative in my words, because I'm starting to learn how powerful words really are. And so this morning, my daughter was like, I can't hear it, or I can't. And she just, whenever something doesn't go her way, she's just, I can't. I'm like, how about let's try focusing on what you need right now? So you can't hear it. You need mommy to raise the volume so we can ask, Mommy, can you raise the volume? and just shifting those words and kind of
Mm.
getting her into that as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, that's also a big mind shift because it's easy for somebody who grew up like my dad or how I was raised to think that being a yes parent, you're spoiling your kids by not saying no to them. They need to learn that in the real world there are no's. They're gonna get no's. And if you're a yes parent, how do your kids accept rejection when they get faced with it for the first time? So I can really
Yeah.
see that, but I also really understand now the power of being a yes parent and just not putting up that extra negative wall or block that's gonna cause resistance.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting that idea that your dad, for instance, and many, many other people out in the world, if your child is upset about something, because you've said we're not going to do that right now, and the answer is still no, because sometimes we are going to say no. Yeah, I get how much you want it. And the answer is still no.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Right.
Right.
But then your child gets upset, and then you acknowledge their feelings and you go, I get that you're upset. I get that. It's okay to be upset. And the answer is still no. So your dad then would see you comforting that child who's now disappointed with your words and or snuggles or whatever, and that's where he would think you're spoiling your child.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And not to
Here's
point fingers at my dad. I think that's just like a kind of old school way of thinking too.
Absolutely, that's what I said, there's
Yeah.
millions of people in the world who think
Right.
that way. It's not
Just
just
in
your
case
dad.
my dad listens and is
That's
like,
right.
Serena, why are you always attacking
Why are you
me?
calling me out? um Here's what I want to say to start off this conversation about spoiling children or the spoiled brat. I do not like the term spoiled brat or you're spoiled. I don't like it because it points the finger at the child. And here's the thing: children are not born spoiled. We, the adults, the parents, the grandparents, the caregivers, we raise them up and create their behavior patterns. Number one, by who we're being in the world. And number two, how we respond to their behavior. So we, the adults, the parents, spoil the child's behavior by things
So
we say or don't say.
so we can't call the kid spoiled brat. We should call the parents spoiled maker.
Spoil maker. Or maybe we just withhold judgment.
Yes. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I want to say for those of you who have infants, you cannot spoil your newborn baby. You cannot spoil your infant. Responding to your infant's needs, to their cry, to their whimper, even, you will not spoil them. Picking up your child, your baby, when they cry, figuring out what that cry means. Are they hungry? Do they have a dirty diaper? Are they tired? Do they have a sore tummy? Do they have colic? Those are hard babies, but picking up those babies and holding them and giving them what they need will not spoil your child. I'm going to say that again. Picking up your infant when they reach out to you with a cry or a whimper or whatever it is will not spoil your child. There is brain science and research now to support this. And mothers who are tuned in and fathers who are tuned in to our intuitive knowing and our instincts know that we need to nurture our babies.
So, at what age would you say that it's you can start encouraging these behaviors by quote unquote spoiling?
Right.
I said
When does it start? When do we stop responding to their
it's
needs, their cries? And when would it start spoiling their behavior? I don't think there's an age. I don't know an age necessarily. Um, when we respond to our child's need, it creates a strong connection. Connection creates security. Security allows for healthy and appropriate growth and development. So when your baby is newborn and all the way through those early infant weeks and months, responding and responding and responding when they need us or when they want us. If somebody in that older generation who will say, don't pick your baby up every time they cry, you're spoiling them. No, what you're doing is creating a strong bond, a strong connection. That, as you know, if you've been listening to us for any length of time, is the foundation for being that nurturing parent and raising a well balanced human. So then you're getting into the kind of crawling and the toddling and all of those years. And so then if you've responded to their cries all along, and if they have that strong connection and that sense of security, they will be growing in a healthy and appropriate way. They will be developing appropriately. So, can you give me an example of what might happen with a young toddler, say, where
well, I
maybe a
mean,
child would get spoiled?
so my daughter, she's 2 years old. I feel like she's being carried a lot. Like she always wants to be carried.
Mm.
And I also kind of feel like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is spoiling, but I feel like we're at the point where she's really just taking advantage of me breastfeeding her still. And so maybe that would be looked at as kind of like I'm babying her. I don't know about spoiling, but maybe babying her because she's carried and breastfed as she demands.
Okay, so those two are quite different for me.
Okay.
Um, I breastfed well past the toddlerhood, well past two. I can't remember how many years. And it was less and less and less and less. And just, and the final parts was just coming to me for comfort. And that, if you do any research about breastfeeding, is normal in humans who are not living in our first world reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's normal that we would nurse our children and they would come to us for that comfort. They're not getting the nourishment anymore, but they're getting that nurturing comfort from us. So I personally would not say nursing a 2-year-old is spoiling her. Now, if you don't feel like she doesn't need it in this moment, if she falls down and hurts herself, does she come to you then to nurse?
Yeah.
When
I
would the
think more
things, when,
more when she's tired, I think it is.
yeah,
When
yeah,
it's nap time, when it's bedtime.
yeah. So those are the totally natural times she would come to you. That's not spoiling her. And what you said was she went on her demand when
Mhm.
she wants it. Now, you as a mama who's busy, you've got all the balls in the air all the time. If you could maybe notice that she's getting tired, you might initiate that nursing time and get her going towards her nap or towards bedtime before she comes to you and quote unquote demands to nurse, right?
Right.
So she's demanding it because maybe you're not seeing those earlier cues.
Oh, I think I see them. I just get caught up in the
Yeah,
busyness
you're
of
you're
everything that I
seeing
have to do. So I put it off until it's
exactly.
the last straw and we're in that
Yes.
place where it's like, give it to me. And I'm trying to finish and let me finish what I'm doing. And she's tired and she's like, give it to me and
Yes.
crying. And And that's where the
Yes.
frustration comes from, probably.
Yes. So that's a perfect example because you're seeing it. And we do, mamas. I know that you all see those moments. Oh, she's getting tired. I should stop doing this last thing or these last 3 or 10 things that I need to get done before the day's over. And, so that's on us, right? I hate to keep putting it on you, mamas and dads, but it is. We're the adults. We need. And so she's not actually demanding,
Mm-hmm.
right? She's just getting to the end of her rope and she's like, please, I need this now. And so if you could, when you notice those signs of her being tired, go, okay, I'm going to finish doing these dishes and finish putting away the laundry and do all these other things, get the lunches ready for tomorrow after I spend this 20 minutes with my girl. And it's hard because as soon as you lay down, you're going to want to fall asleep.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe she can be with dad for a little bit, or maybe dad does some of those things, or however that works in your household. But that was such a good example because your child is only being demanding, quote unquote, when you haven't responded to those earlier cues. That's what I'm talking about when I say we spoil the child's behavior. And then they start acting spoiled because now she's demanding that you nurse her. And it's like, this is my body. Why are you demanding this of me? But she's been needing it for the last half hour, hour and a half, whatever that looks like in the different scenarios, right?
Mm-hmm. So in the different scenarios, because usually we look at spoiled brats like somebody who I guess is entitled. They expect to get what they want when they want, and if not, there's a show that's going to follow, filled with tears and
Mm-hmm.
stomping and maybe yelling. So if we were in the store and I mean, I can think of a few kids that are like, I want chips, buy me chips. Or even my grown friend did this to me the other day. She was like, I want candy. And I'm like, I don't even buy candy for my kids. I'm not buying you candy. And we got into it at the store. She was like, get me candy. I'm like, I'm not getting you candy. And she
Oh my
kept
goodness.
throwing the candy past the scanner. I was getting so mad at her.
Oh my goodness.
And I ended up buying her the candy because I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing the show with you. And she got her candy. I was like,
Wow.
I
Okay,
was
so
so
that is what this episode is going to try to help you not go down that road and raise those children to be those adults.
right.
Um, so what just come back to that nursing example just real quick because what I want to say is when you notice and this is going to take something from you mamas because especially at the bedtime and the nap time may be a little different, but the bedtime and you're all tired, right? And you've got all these things to do before bed. If you can, whenever you can, notice those earlier signs and take a moment, even if you can't stop what you're doing right now, and say, I hear you, I see you, I'm here, and I'm going to do these 2 things or this thing or these 3 things. And you know what? We could set a timer so that it's not you and her having this battle and her demanding and demanding and demanding and you resisting and resisting and resisting until, oh, it's all the same. Set the timer and give yourself, okay, you know what? However long you think she can actually manage. So if it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes, maybe it's half an hour. Don't necessarily think all the time you need to get all those jobs done. You have to bring your expectations down a little. Your baby needs you right now. And it's our crazy lifestyles that isn't fulfilling our child's needs and developing that sense of security. Right. So if you can stop and touch, connect with her, say, I love you. I'm here. Mama's just got to do this. And then you have to follow through.
Right. That's the hardest
So
part.
that is the hardest part. But I really encourage you to practice this week and tell me next week how it goes. Okay. And now we're in the store. So I want to say a few things. The store example is classic.
Right.
Why do stores put all the sweets beside the cash registers? Because they know that that's when we're going to give in to our own wants for something sweet and yummy right now, and or to our children's want for something sweet, because it's like, oh, just standing in this line, I can't handle it, right? So it's an evil thing that capitalism does to us,
Right.
mamas and dads. It is so nasty. um all right, here's what I
It,
want to say. It's natural for us to want to give our children things that we didn't get when we were children. So when we were growing up, maybe we grew up, not in a very wealthy family. I didn't. I don't think you did, Serena. It's natural for parents to want to fulfill things for their children that they didn't get, right? What we end up doing is trying to fill emotional needs with treats or things. And that actually damages the relationship. The cost of anything does not equal the value of your relationship. Do you get what I mean?
yeah, your time, your attention. $5 for a little plastic toy that your kid is gonna play with for
Yes.
2 seconds
And
that
for some of you,
you think it might be buying you brownie points. It's not.
exactly. So, you, parent, you might feel guilty that you're not with your child more. Most parents these days in our society feel that way to some degree because we've created a society built on capitalism. I'm sorry, I'm not a capitalist. Built on that system that is now demanding that both parents work. And single and solo parents, I feel you because that was me. It's You have to work. You have to go away from your child, both parents or one, and be away from them. So, yes, there's guilt that you are not able to be with your child more, and that when you're with them, you're exhausted. So, giving in at the shops, giving in when they whine for one more show. I just want to watch one more show. You think you're getting the brownie points, like you said, Serena.
Yeah.
In fact, here's the truth, it widens the gap. Children need their emotional needs met. They need their need for connection with you met. They don't need more stuff. They don't need more time on the screen. Honest to goodness, they don't need those things. Most of us, even those of us who are living low on the income levels, our children have so much stuff, right? Here's the brain science behind it. Every time we want something, we pursue getting that thing. Mama, I want it. I want this. No, I really want you to get it for me. I'll be really mad at you if you don't get it for me. I hate you. I want it. You have to get it for me. Like, all that is the pursuing of getting what we want. When we get it, what happens in our brain is we get a quick dopamine hit. Dopamine is one of those feel good hormones. This is how the human brain works. We want, we pursue, we get dopamine. Yay, we feel good, right? That whole process that happens every time we want anything, and it comes from chasing the bunny rabbit with your spear and going out and finding foraging the food for your family back when we were living cave people, the hunters and gatherers. That want, pursue, get. I feel good because I'm providing for my family, or I found the medicine we need, or whatever that was when we were those hunter gatherers. Nowadays, it actually leads to addiction. We want, we pursue, we get the dopamine hit, we feel good, and we get addicted to that cycle. So, you parents, you have to stop the cycle of that addiction in your child. If you're seeing that you happen to be one of those parents who does give in. And we're going to talk about why it's so important not to keep giving in all the time. I just quickly too, giving in to more screen time. Boy, I watched something in my research that was like these kids who are fully addicted, like hours and hours and hours a day of screen time. And they're actually having seizures
Wow.
because their brains are so overloaded. Like
Oh
there
my
is
gosh.
yeah. I watched something where a little ball, like he was 9 or something, and his mother had a single mother, 4 kids. He was the oldest, and he was just in front of the screen. And then he got addicted to his games, and he started having seizures.
Wow.
And he was on the computer for like 8 hours a day sometimes,
Wow.
like just crazy. So it definitely leads to addiction. And so please don't use screens as your babysitter. Get out the art supplies, get out the boxes of things for the children to manipulate, the Play-Doh, all those things that we've talked about in other episodes. All right. How do we not spoil our child's behavior? In fact, in my notes, I said, how do we not raise a spoiled child? But they're not the spoiled child. How do we not spoil our child's behavior? What do we do to create a respectful and gracious child? A child full of gratitude. What do we do? How do we do that? Number one, guess what it is? Always
Model.
model the behavior you want
Model,
to
model, model.
see. Yeah. So if you are respectful in little ways, like, if somebody has one item and you're in that store lineup and you've got a whole basket full, offer that person to go ahead of you. You can wait, right? Have your children see you modeling little moments of graciousness and being respectful, and bigger moments, but even those little moments, they all add up. All right. One of Aside from not giving in those grocery store and stuff store lineups, giving our children less gifts. Cut back on the number of gifts that we give at Christmas and birthdays and whenever else people give gifts.
So one of my cousins, we have a family reunion every year, and I remember one year they came and told us how my cousin Owen, for his birthday, he donated all of his presents. And this probably happens, what, I'm 29 now, so this probably happened over 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. But that always stuck with me, that this little boy was able to donate all of his gifts. And
Where did he donate them? Like to some,
I don't remember. Maybe it was a
mm,
church. He donated
yeah,
it to
where they would wrap them
somebody.
up and give them to needy
They
families.
were all of his gifts from his birthday. So
Yeah.
he just passed them over. They were already wrapped and everything.
He didn't even unwrap
He didn't
them.
even unwrap them. He just gave them,
Wow.
yep, he donated all of his gifts. And I just always remember thinking how incredible that was. And honestly, he is one of the sweetest little, I mean, he's a young man now, but he's just such a gentleman.
Yeah. Beautiful. Um, in where you live, have you ever heard of toonie parties?
No.
So here, instead of everybody who's invited to the birthday party bringing a gift and wrapping it up, and because a lot of families are struggling financially.
Hmm.
A lot of families are struggling financially. And if your child gets to go to a whole bunch of different birthday parties, that adds up.
Yeah,
Even if
tell
it's
me
a
about it.
$20 gift, and it's hard to find a cool $20 gift these days, right? Then you got to get the wrapping. So here, you have a toonie party and they don't give gifts. Every child brings a toonie in a card, and some kids make the cards.
What's a
And
toonie
then,
though?
oh, that's so funny because I'm Canadian. it's a it's a coin that replaced our $2 bill. You guys didn't even have a $2
Oh,
bill. We we have a $1 bill that has a picture of a loon on it, the bird. So
okay.
we got the $1 bill turned into a coin with this beautiful loon on it. And so it's called a loonie. We started calling it a loonie right away. And then the next bill that they got rid of to change it into a coin was the $2 bill. So then it just got called a toonie. So that's really funny. So when they're really young, they kids just it's a toonie party. And then everybody just has that, you guys get two bills in a card or whatever, dollar bill or something. And it's not very much, but little ones don't care. And then they have all this money that they get to spend on something if they want, or as your cousin did, donate.
Yeah.
So that can be fun. That's really funny. I didn't even think of it. Toonie. What's a toonie? Oh my gosh. We are from different countries. um, so yeah, especially with those first babies, cutting back on the gifts. Remember your first one? It's just like overwhelming. Mom and dad want to get all the perfect gifts, but then all the grandparents want to get all the perfect gifts too. And then aunties and uncles want to get all the perfect gifts too. And it's just like, and it gets overwhelming.
Hmm.
And then we set a precedence, right? And it's just, and then there's too much stuff and there's too much waste. Yeah.
Too much stuff. And I think half of why us moms go crazy, like for managing laundry and cleaning up, like there's just too much stuff everywhere.
Yes.
And we,
Yes.
I do it to myself. I do it. You, you, Emma, can see all my laundry right now stacked behind me. And it drives me crazy. And I look in our drawers, and my kids have two full drawers and they wear the same five outfits. And
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
I'm in a place where I'm just getting rid of all the extra because
Good.
it's just too much and it gives us more work, and that's where our frustration and our lack of holding boundaries and this comes from. It's just
And it's too much. It's too much for them
it is.
because your 4-year-old should be choosing her own clothes. Your 2-year-old could be choosing her own clothes.
Oh, they do. Mine 2 and
Right.
4 years. Yep.
Right. And if they have two drawers full of, how do they even see what's in there?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So have 5 or 6 outfits nicely laid out in a drawer. Imagine how beautiful that drawer would be to open. Excellent. Okay. Back on track with not spoiling our children with stuff and, then ending up spoiling their behavior. Okay. Um, Giving children an opportunity to do family chores. And we have a whole episode about getting children to help out. So maybe you can pop that number in our show notes.
Of
I forgot
course.
to ask you for that before. Um, and Family chores, it's just like everybody in our household does chores. Like my grandchildren know that when they're at my house, their dishes just automatically go to the sink, beside the sink. Or when I'm at home and I have a dishwasher, they just automatically go there. And they started when they were a year and a half old. Yeah, we just clear our, it's just something we do as families. Children want to help out. You'll hear more about this if you go and listen to that. I encourage you to go and listen to that. Um, episode because it helps children to feel a worthy part of their society. And in the beginning, the family is their society, right? And then, so some families start giving children an allowance for helping with the family chores. Other families say, no, we all pitch in the family. And there's other ways you can earn. Here's our basic chores. And then you can have a jar for earning chores, or you could put them up on a pin board or something, or a magnet board. And then we cover what they need, their clothing, their food, basic needs. We cover that as their parents. But then, especially as they get older, and your little one in daycare now, Serena, she may be coming home. I want this because so and so has this, or, everybody else has one, right? And so they want to have these things and they will bug you and bug you and bug you. And your job is to say, great, I hear how much you want that. And here's the extra chores that can earn you some money. So, how much does that cost? Go ahead and start earning. So, those would be chores above and beyond the normal that we all do every day.
I love that. And actually, Juan just got Andrea, our 4-year-old, back into selling the bottles because we used to do it when she was like one.
Hmm.
And she would put those bottles in and collect her money at the end. And
Nice.
so
Yeah.
right now she's obsessed with the gumball machine in the laundromat because when my husband washes his sanitation clothes, he goes to the laundromat. So
Yes.
she likes going with him to get gum. So her job
Nice.
is return the bottles and you have your coins for your gumballs.
Nice. Perfect. So what that does is it builds up in them, this idea that we number one, that we have to wait for some things and we have to actually put effort into getting what we want. It
Delayed.
doesn't just it delayed gratification. Exactly. Things don't just come to us because we say we want it right now, or they shouldn't. Um, I also encourage you to involve the children in the process of giving gifts. I love that story about your cousin. That's amazing. If they're going to buy, we just had Mother's Day and on Father's Day is coming up. If you're going to buy gifts or get them to make gifts for their parent or their grandparents, when there are birthdays coming up, when there's Christmas coming up, get the children involved in the gift giving process so that they are not just always on the receiving end. And then you sign the card. This is from mommy and daddy and you. You know, it's like, no, they get to help.
Yeah, and I just did that with Andrea because Aniston's birthday just passed. So we went to the store and went shopping for Aniston. And I say that is so great because it wasn't easy because she's like, I'm gonna buy this because I want to play with it. That was her
Mm-hmm.
intention. So she
Mm-hmm.
bought the toy, wanting to play with it. Sissy, can I open your gift? Can I open your gift? And it was so that was a good moment for her to learn and practice that patience and and
Yes.
giving to others. And yeah, it was fun to do that and watch how
Nice.
it was hard for her. And that's a good struggle that I want to watch her go through.
Yes. And that is where we want to go. We want, we don't want to create struggle for our children, but we want them to experience normal struggles in normal everyday life, exactly like that. This is we're shopping for your sister. You want to play with it, and actually it's your sister's gift. So, yeah, That little bit of disappointment, that little bit of frustration, all those things are really good for developing that sense of um, that strength in us. Uh, Also, acknowledging gifts that they are given with saying thank you if it's in the moment and the person is there, or with making a call to say thank you, or even sending a card in the mail to say thank you. If they have grandparents who are far away, I know my mom talks about this a lot. There's she lives away from most of her grandchildren now, and she still sends them gifts for their birthday. They're all young adults. And she says, I just don't understand it. Like they just never, I just don't even know whether they received them. And some of them, they're sending $50 check or something, right? I just don't even know if they received it until I find out if the check either got cashed or didn't. And it's like, what is going on?
Or you call yourself to say, "Hey, did you get this?"
Yeah. And it's like, how, yeah, we have raised people who do not know how important it is to say a quick thank you. And there's so many quick ways of saying it now,
And
easy ways.
yeah, I mean, I think it's also priorities because this, my grandparents raised me to send thank you cards. That's always a thing. But I think just like society now, just how fast paced it is, because
Mm-hmm.
even my grandparents, they they taught me that, but even they fall behind with the cards that they send out, and
Yes.
they call me and they're like, "I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I got like just life
Yeah.
got busy, your card's going in the mail
Mm-hmm.
late." I mean, they'll let me know, but it's just like this fast-paced society, us having to
Yeah.
do a million things and just forgetting that it's really the little things.
Yes, it is. And it is, I don't want this to add more to your to-do list, mom and dad out there. And I don't want you to feel guilty about it. And if we can get our children involved in family chores, cut back on the numbers of gifts, have our children earn money for those extra things that they want that are not needs, but they're wants. Get children involved in the shopping and the creating of gifts and the giving of gifts, the wrapping of gifts, all those things. Get them acknowledging the gifts that they've been given, and also having them feel those consequences, like you were saying about, no, you're not, this is not something that we are going to buy today. I get that you want it and it can go on your wish list. Um, and pointing out when they're saying, but everybody else has one and I want one too. And how come they can get one and I can't get one? And, I don't encourage people to say we can't afford it, because that kind of brings in poverty consciousness kind of energy
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
conversation. And I don't want you to be spending money, mama, if you don't have the money. Don't rack up the credit cards. It's not doing your child any favors. They're not going to feel more connected to you. It's going to widen the gap between you and them, actually. You're going to start seeing more behaviors of more demands and those kinds of things. um, Living within your means, living within what you can actually afford is one of the best things you can model for your child. A
That is
thousand
so
percent,
true.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
Pointing out that just because your friends have that doesn't actually mean that their family can afford it. We don't know their situation, but right now it's a no for us. You can earn some money if you want to work towards that. So there's some serious consequences. There's a word that has been coined called affluenza. So coming from an affluent society, when a child suffers from affluenza, they lack motivation. So that's when they're given things and given things and given things and given things, right? They lack motivation. They grow into people who lack a sense of responsibility or even guilt for a situation. They have a chronic dissatisfaction, and all of it can lead to them having difficult relationships throughout their childhoods, their teen years, and into their adult lives. Because if their number one people who love them, their parents, that's our first love relationship. If those people are winning their love by giving them everything they want, then they grow up being people who think love is connected to you filling every want that I have, every desire that I have. I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. And you have to give it to me because that means you love me. Pretty sure those aren't the children we want to raise. Here's a few signs to look for that you may be going down the track of not holding your boundaries strong enough and giving in too often. And so spoiling your child's behavior, spoiling your child. You're doing it. So here's some warning signs. They ignore you often or always. Every child ignores you sometimes, but they
I was
ignore
like,
you.
uh-oh.
They disrespect you. They cannot handle no. Just can't handle a no. They manipulate you. They use manipulation to get their way. Whining is a form of manipulation, right? They are never satisfied. They lack gratitude. They are quick to frustration. They are sore losers. They can't handle losing. And they lack patience. So, those are all some warning signs. If you're seeing those things, I want to end off with a beautiful quote that I read, and I apologize, I don't have who this quote came from, but it says, children thrive when we give them half as many presents and twice as much of our presence.
Wow, I love that.
Half as much stuff, twice as much of us.
I love that. And I know it's so hard. It's so hard when we have a million things to do, and one thing that helps me get back to that place is just remembering that soon they're going to be sooner than we know, they're going to be out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they're not going to need us at all.
No, I have grandchildren who are like that now, and my heart's breaking all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give them your presence, give them you, the presence of your time, your energy. Yes. Okay. That was long, but it's a big topic.
It is.
It's a confusing topic, too, I think, for our society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thanks for bringing it up, Serena. And good luck out there. Let us know how it's going in your world. Are you spoiling your child's behavior? Do you have strong boundaries? We've got episodes for that. And we love you.
Okay, so I don't have a gem, but as we ended this call, Amma got into it again, and she was saying basically the most important reason why we want to provide this for our kids, why we don't want to spoil them, and why we want to give them these opportunities to grow, because we really want the best for our kids, and it's really going to build our kids' character and give them strong characteristics that will help them grow and develop into strong, independent individuals, which is something we all want. So my gem is going to be this little wrap up from Amma, and we hope you enjoy. We also have an episode coming out soon on kind kids, raising kind kids. So look out for that. It's kind of the opposite of a spoiled brat. So we'll get into all the ways we can teach kindness to our kids. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. And here's Alma's very passionate wrap up.
So, the important thing to remember is that disappointment and struggle lead it to good things in life. And this is going to be hard because we don't want our children to struggle. We don't want them to feel disappointed. We don't want them to fail. And we tend in this day and age to overly protect them from disappointment, from struggle, from pain of any kind, right? But what that does is it robs them of the ability to grow in their resilience, to grow tenacity, to get strong. The thing is, it's not to protect them from failing, but to allow them to fail and to allow them to learn how to get back up again. There's a famous quote about that. It's not the number of times you fail, it's the number of times you get back up.
Right.
Like those are the strong people in our society, right? Those are the people that make a difference in our society. So don't overly protect them. Struggle also leads to feelings of gratitude. I did it. Feelings of pride, you know? So, yeah, just allow natural disappointment and struggle. Don't create it, but allow it. And you talked earlier before we were recording, when your child falls down and scrapes their knee, you don't
Don't.
rush.
Right.
Don't rush in there and fix it right away. It's a oh, it can hurt. Oh, I know how much that hurts. I used to scrape my knee all the time. You got this. You're up. You're running. There you go. All right.
There you have it. How you can transform a little spoiled brat into a strong, independent, resilient being. All right. We'll see you next week. Take care.
I want to sing with you. I want to dance with you. I want to laugh with you. Oh, how I love to be with you. I do. I do. Such a short time we've been together. Seems like a lifetime or two. Never knew I could love